LSU in the college football playoff rankings at number 6, about where we expected. The discussion is ramping up about LSU versus Tennessee. It's a complete hypothetical because LSU has to beat Georgia for this to matter, but you can already see the two sides kind of digging in, and it's not an easy decision. I don't at this point really side with either party. I don't side with Tennessee is definitely in over LSU, and I don't side with LSU is definitely in with an SEC championship. I think it's a little bit more complicated than that. No, first of all, is TCU in this thing or not? If TCU is in this thing with Georgia and the winner of the Big Ten championship game, then this becomes really, really tough. Because much as LSU fans would want to, you can't erase that beating that LSU took at Tiger Stadium from Tennessee. That still counts. I think I heard one of the committee members say last night, or maybe this was a quote that I read, wasn't on the show. I'm trying to remember now exactly who it was, but said, we're talking about, these teams that are getting better at the end. And as much as that benefits LSU, I absolutely, positively hate that argument. I don't care if your best game was the last game in November or it was the second game in September. They all count, okay? Just remember this the next time that LSU may not be the beneficiary of this. Much like you'd want to, the loss to Florida State counted. The loss to Tennessee counted. Didn't matter that they happened in September and October. We play 3 months worth of regular season. They all count, okay? So whenever I hear, over their last 5, stop it, okay? You're getting into prediction business again. Your job as a committee is to rank teams based on what they have. I got to say this every time, okay? Every time the basketball bracket comes out, every time the baseball bracket comes out, every time the football bracket. It does not matter what you think, okay? Can I get the rock? It doesn't matter what you think. It doesn't matter what you think they're going to do. It matters what they did. You are what your record says you are. And LSU's got an extra loss than Tennessee. Now, is that the be-all and get-all? No, because if you beat Georgia, then that automatically, I think, becomes the best win that anybody can have. That plus the winner of the Ohio State-Michigan game. So all that counts. And I can't make a definitive statement right now on should LSU be in over Tennessee or Tennessee be in over LSU until I see LSU play Georgia, because that's a big, big deal. Still counts one, but it's a very, very important one. If LSU goes in there and somehow blows the doors off of Georgia, do I think that's going to happen? Absolutely not. But it could. I don't know. If I knew for sure, I'd be on a plane. I don't even have to get on a plane anymore. Old habits die hard. Man, I'd be on a plane to Vegas right now. Why would I do that? I can just pull out my phone. Call up Mattress Mac, ask for a loan. Okay, I don't know for sure. Okay, neither does the committee. So for the moment, let's just. I know that Reese Davis has kind of dug his heels in a little bit with this, but I can't make that call until I see LSU play Georgia. I can tell you what, if it were today, Tennessee's in. Okay? If I got to tell you today, because LSU's whole basis of the argument for getting in the playoff is that they won the Southeastern Conference, which they have not done yet. Okay? So given that, and the fact that LSU has one more loss to Tennessee, and they played each other, and the game was in Baton Rouge, and Tennessee won the game decisively, Tennessee's ahead of them, which is what the committee said last night. That's fine. But again, we're already digging in for what's going to happen in 3 weeks if LSU beats Georgia. If LSU beats Georgia, we'll have that conversation. And how they beat Georgia, all of that matters. Everything matters. Okay? Say like Skip Bertman. Right now, I can't tell you 100% one way or the other how it's going to turn out. I can only tell you what we have today. What we have today is Tennessee in front of LSU, which is how it should be. Brian Kelly talking about the focus this week.
17 seniors that we're honoring, being graduates. So last home game, recognizing our seniors, playing a really good UAB team, one of the top rushers in the country, over 1,400 yards, and then really a team that could easily be 8 or 9 win team. So they've got our attention. We're excited about sending our seniors off with the victory, and that's been really our focus.
I think I played it because this ain't the easiest week to focus. All right. You've been on a Southeastern Conference run here for the better part of 2 months, and you can say it all you want. You can harp on it, put it up on a bulletin board, blare it from the speakers in the locker room. They know the difference. They know the difference between UAB and Alabama. Okay, just because both teams are in the same state, they could not be more different. Getting the players to focus. Well, I hate games like this in November. I can tolerate them barely in September, and not for nothing, but UAB's not all that bad. Okay, this is not a team that LSU. I've heard a lot of this week. Is Nussmeier going to play? You better win the game. All right, you better win the game, and I think LSU will win the game, and I think they'll win. And I don't think it'll be a field goal game. I don't think that they win the game at the gun or anything, but. Do I think that they're going to be up 35-0 at the end of the first quarter like it was when they played Southern? I do not. So, the idea about, well, when are you going to get the backups and all that, just, hang on a little bit. You want to come out of this thing healthy, but I almost said secure victory. I don't want to say that. That's dated. That's dated material also. Kelly, with the opportunity to not talk about a Southeastern Conference opponent, also talked this morning about it was a little bit he had some big picture stuff, if you will, and I talked about what the realistic expectations were when he took this job.
I think you have to look at the circumstances when you come into any business or organization. Is what is the organizational health? And the organizational health was such that it needed to be rebooted, and that started with new coaches, new support staff. We had 39 scholarship players that are available for the bowl game, so it would not have been a realistic expectation. I think there are some circumstances where there is a transition where those circumstances could be realistic. But I think in this situation, that would not have been a realistic expectation.
It was 39 for the bowl game, and then I started thinking about it, and I was like, wait, hang on. How many scholarship players did he actually have when he got to his first practice? Because his first practice, not the bowl practices, because there were some players that were held out of that game for redshirt purposes, and there were other players that were out of that game because of injuries. Garrett Nussmeier, for instance, didn't play in that game but was available to him. Keyshawn Boutte, for instance, was available to him in August but was not available for that game. So I went back and looked it up. I'm like, did he have a lot more? He didn't. He had 48 players. Or 9 I counted them one, but I went through the whole roster. 48 players who signed, and then 6 other players that they had awarded scholarships that had originally walked on. So it was a little bit better, but not much, because I heard that argument. Hey, wait, he had more than 39. He did. Not many, though. Not very many at all. Kelly was also asked, Mario, for why the success was more attainable here than at his previous stops.
Certainly I came here with my eyes wide open. I knew that, the roster, had some talented players. Certainly there was going to be incredible support from the top all the way down, and I mean from the president through our athletic director. We were going to have the resources necessary. The resources here are better than anywhere that I've been in my career. And so those resources go to work right away in helping you develop your football program, from, nutrition to strength and conditioning to just having the support necessary from a manpower standpoint. All of those things coming together from the very beginning allow you to have this opportunity to develop and build your football team right away.
When I first started covering LSU, it might have been somewhere between the, 25th and 35th best job in the country, somewhere in that area. Now it's a top 5 job. And a lot of that has to do with the administration. When I first started covering LSU, you had an athletic director that wanted to do things on the cheap. You do not have that anymore. Your facilities were aging and they were not being kept up at all at that time. The rest of the stuff, though, also when I started covering LSU, they were in the middle of six consecutive losing seasons. So you didn't have recent history. You didn't have good facilities. You did not have an athletic director that was willing to let the head coach spend on staff. I'll never forget when Jerry DiNardo got the job. I asked an agent. We were trying to, get a realistic list of candidates, and I talked to an agent that I knew, and I started listing names. He said, you can cross the top 4 or 5 names. You can cross those off your name right now. And I said, they wouldn't even consider it? He said, no. And I said, why wouldn't they even consider it? He says, because your athletic director can't count, meaning that he wasn't willing to pay. That was the slang for it was, your guy's not going to pay. Okay. That's no longer the case, obviously. So, the one standard was recruiting. The thing that stayed steady was you're still the only Power 5 team, and call it that back then, but you're still the only Power 5 team in the state that has very, very, very good high school football. And you also in proximity, close enough proximity to East Texas, specifically Houston, where you can recruit. All of that was in place. The rest of the stuff wasn't. Okay. Just to give you an idea, just so I can bring DiNardo back into this conversation. When DiNardo was here and off the second season, which was a 10-win season, which was a big deal at that time. LSU had been down for a long time. He got 10 wins. Notre Dame job opened up, and it was like, is Jerry DiNardo going to be a candidate for the Notre Dame job? Well, the idea at that point that Notre Dame would ever lose a coach to LSU was folly. Okay, now it's reality. You just heard why from Brian Kelly.